Did you know every single dinosaur you learned about as a kid is at least a little bit wrong? Some of them are a lot wrong. And the wildest part? A few of them aren't even dinosaurs at all. Welcome to the part of paleontology nobody really talks about. The part where scientists built entire animals from guesswork, stuck pieces in the wrong places, used the wrong skulls, misidentified sea turtles, and then put those mistakes in museums for generations of people to walk past and go, "Yep, that's definitely what it looked like." This video is about 10 of those cases, and they get progressively more embarrassing as we go. The last one, though, that's the one that might change how you look at every dinosaur reconstruction you've ever seen, including the ones we have right now. Let's get into it. Number 10 is Iguanodon, and we're going to visit this one twice because it managed to be wrong in two completely different ways across two different centuries. When Gideon Mantell first described Iguanodon in 1825, working from fragmentary fossils, he interpreted it as an elephant-sized quadrupedal reptile with a horn on its nose. That horn was actually the animal's distinctive thumb spike, mistaken for something like the nasal horn of a rhinoceros iguana. It made sense within the prevailing view that Iguanodon was just an oversized lizard. So for roughly 50 years, reconstructions showed it with a spike jammed onto its snout. The idea only fell apart when a series of far more complete skeletons turned up in a Belgian coal mine in 1878, revealing that the horn actually belonged on a mitten-like hand opposite a prehensile finger. One of the very first dinosaurs ever formally described spent half a century with its thumb glued to its face. Number 9 is Stegosaurus. You know the one, plates on its back, spikes on its tail, instantly recognizable. Except the very first reconstruction, published by O.C. Marsh in Scientific American in 1884, had the plates on the tail, the spikes on the back, a long neck, and a pose balanced on 3 legs like a tripod. Basically, every feature was in the wrong place. That wasn't because the science was primitive, it was because the bones were scattered, there was no complete skeleton to work from, and the artist was doing their best with fragments, which is a theme you're going to keep seeing. Number 8 is Cetiosaurus, the first sauropod ever formally described back in 1842, and also the one illustrated with what appears to be an extra leg. A famous 1960s reconstruction by Neve Parker depicted it as a semi-aquatic swamp dweller, the default assumption for any large dinosaur at the time. We now know it lived entirely on land, no swamp required. As for the apparent fifth limb, charitably an artistic accident. Less charitably, a bonus leg. Either way, the first sauropod on record spent decades looking like a confused amphibious creature with extra anatomy. Number 7 is Scelidosaurus. This one doesn't get talked about much, which is a shame because the mistake is subtler and more interesting than most. Early 1960s reconstructions gave it armor on the body, accurate as far as it went. But researchers later discovered the armor actually extended onto its head and legs, areas early artists had left bare, and that its tail and trunk were both longer than depicted. The whole point of an armored dinosaur is the armor, and for decades this one wasn't wearing nearly enough of it. Number 6 is Therizinosaurus, and this one is genuinely absurd. In 1948, a Mongolian field expedition uncovered its remains in the Gobi Desert, including 3 enormous, sickle-shaped claws nearly a meter long. Their size and shape resembled certain turtle claws, and since they were found alongside large, flat bones, researchers concluded they'd found a giant aquatic turtle, one that used those claws to harvest seaweed. Paleontologist Evgeny Maleev was so confident in this that he built the mistake directly into the animal's name. Therizinosaurus cheloniformis, turtle-shaped. It wasn't recognized as a dinosaur until 1970, when more complete skeletons of related species revealed a bizarre, previously unknown group of theropods. Long-necked, beaked, fat-bodied, with stout arms tipped in absurdly long claws. The claws were real. The turtle was not. Number 5 is Scleromochlus, and this one is less about how it looked and more about what it even was. Paleontologist William Elgin Swinton originally classified it as a theropod dinosaur, the same broad group as Tyrannosaurus rex, partly because it lived alongside dinosaurs roughly 200 million years ago. But it wasn't a dinosaur at all. It's now considered a close relative of pterosaurs, on a completely separate branch of the family tree. A good reminder that lived alongside dinosaurs and was a dinosaur are not the same sentence. Number 4 is Brontosaurus, and yes, you probably know the naming controversy, that it was technically the same animal as Apatosaurus, and the name shouldn't have existed. But that's actually the less interesting part of this story. In 1877, Marsh discovered a partial skeleton of a long-necked, long-tailed herbivore he named Apatosaurus. It was missing a skull, so when he published a reconstruction in 1883, he topped it with the head of a different dinosaur, thought to be Camarasaurus. Scientists caught the error by 1903, but the mistake lived on anyway. The Carnegie Museum in Pittsburgh mounted its Apatosaurus skeleton with the wrong head as late as 1932, and it stayed that way for nearly 50 years, partly out of institutional apathy, and partly because well-preserved Apatosaurus skulls were hard to come by. For generations, museum-goers stood in front of a composite creature, a body from one dinosaur, a head from another, and a name that shouldn't have existed in the first place. Number 3 brings us back to Iguanodon because it earned a second entry. Remember those complete Belgian skeletons that fixed the thumb on the nose problem? They immediately created a new one. By comparing the skeletons to modern flightless birds and kangaroos, scientists reinterpreted Iguanodon as an upright, bipedal animal that braced itself on its tail. The classic kangaroo pose, standing bolt upright with its tail dragging like a tripod leg. That version became the standard for over a century, and wasn't corrected until the late 20th century, when researchers determined the animal actually walked on all fours with a roughly horizontal spine and its tail held off the ground. Two completely different wrong reconstructions, 100 years apart. Same dinosaur, same careful scientists, different mistake each time. Number 2 isn't a single dinosaur. It's a concept that applies to almost every dinosaur reconstruction you've ever seen, and it has a name: shrink wrapping. It's the habit of drawing a dinosaur as basically a skeleton with a thin layer of skin pulled tight over the bones, what critics call dino mummies. The problem is that real animals don't work that way. Living animals carry fat, muscle, skin folds, wattles, and soft tissue that never survives fossilization. Look at a modern bird, a Komodo dragon, or a hippo skeleton next to the living animal. The bones alone give you almost no idea what it actually looks like alive. The same is almost certainly true of dinosaurs, and yet most reconstructions, even fairly recent ones, default to the tightest possible skin over the most visible bones. It looks dramatic. It's probably wrong. Which brings us to number 1, the one that should make you genuinely uncomfortable about everything we just covered. Paleoartist C.M. Koseman, co-author of All Yesterdays, argues that most modern dinosaur art still skips the soft tissue guesswork that reconstructing a real animal actually requires. Pouches, wattles, skin flaps, fat layers, even porcupine-like quills, none of which would survive as fossils. His point, today's accurate dinosaurs might look just as wrong to scientists 100 years from now as the swamp-dwelling, tail-dragging monsters of the 1960s look to us today. We fixed the thumb on the nose. We fixed the wrong skull. We fixed the kangaroo pose. We added feathers. And we might still be building next century's list of embarrassing mistakes, just more convincingly this time. So here's what this video actually showed you. Paleontologists weren't bad at their jobs. Every reconstruction is a guess constrained by incomplete evidence, and the history of paleontology is largely the history of those guesses being corrected. Iguanodon had its thumb on its face, then stood like a kangaroo, then finally walked on all fours. Brontosaurus had 3 separate identities and the wrong head. The Rhizinosaurus spent over 20 years classified as a sea turtle. And the shrink-wrapping problem might mean our best current reconstructions are still missing something fundamental. The dinosaurs didn't change. Our picture of them did. And if history is any guide, it's still changing right now.